1800s and early 1900s, Argentina was a land of arrival. Immigration surged. In 1869, Buenos Aires had just 180,000 residents. By 1914, that number had grown to 1.5 million. African, Spanish, Italian, British, Polish, Russian, and native-born Argentines all converged in a cultural melting pot. They borrowed music and dance from one another. Traditional polkas, waltzes, and mazurkas blended with the Cuban habanera and the African candom rhythms. Most immigrants were single men, poor and desperate, hoping to earn enough to return to Europe or bring their families to Argentina. Tango evolved from their longing, a dance of absence, memory, and hope. Early forms of tango likely emerged in African Argentine dance halls. These venues drew the compadritos, young, native-born men of mixed ancestry, dressed in slouch hats, neckerchiefs, and high-heeled boots, knives tucked casually into their belts. They brought the dance to Corrales Viejos, the slaughterhouse district of Buenos Aires. There, in bars, dance halls, and brothels, tango took root. African rhythms met Argentine milonga, a fast-paced polka. New steps were born, traditions fused, a new dance emerged. No one knows exactly when or where tango became tango, but one thing is certain, it was born in the poor barrios of Argentina, and today, it's danced on every continent in the world. The worldwide spread of tango began in the early 1900s. Wealthy sons of Argentine society families traveled to Paris and brought with them El Tango. Paris was ready. Its elite circles craved innovation, and they weren't shy about the dance's risque nature or the charm of young, wealthy Latin men. In fact, they embraced it. By 1913, tango had become an international sensation, Paris, London, and New York were swept into its rhythm. There were tango teas, tango train excursions, even tango-inspired fashion, with orange as the signature color. Back home, the Argentine elite who once shunned the dance now found themselves embracing it with national pride. Throughout the 1920s and 1930s, tango spread across the globe. It appeared in films. Tango singers toured the world. By the 1930s, Argentina was entering its golden age. The country ranked among the 10 richest nations on earth. Music, poetry, and culture flourished, and tango became the heartbeat of Argentine identity. The golden age lasted through the 1940s and 1950s, a time when El Tango was not just a dance, but a declaration of culture, of elegance, and of soul. was at its peak. 50 orchestras, countless ensembles. The city pulsed with music from salons and cafes, and the ever-lively social and sports clubs. They played across Argentina and beyond its borders. Tango was everywhere. Each barrio had its own club. River Plate, Huracan, Atlanta, Independiente. These were more than venues. They were sanctuaries for youth, to dance, to connect, to belong. Every night, the clubs came alive. Orchestras rotated through multiple venues, and their devoted fans followed, from one dance floor to the next, until dawn. But tango's fate has always mirrored Argentina's own. In the 1950s, as political repression deepened, the lyrics turned bold, reflecting unrest, resistance, truth. Then they were banned, declared subversive. Large dance halls closed, public gatherings forbidden. Tango went underground. Its music whispered in hidden corners, its spirit carried in quiet steps, and in the hearts of those who refused to let it die. It survived, not in the spotlight, but in the shadows, not on grand stages, but in memory, in defiance, in the heart of the people.
As we dance to the lasso, here's some tango. All right.
In 1950, a brilliant young bandoneonista named Astor Piazzolla left Buenos Aires for Paris. His mission? To study classical composition under the legendary Nadia Boulanger. Though born in Argentina, Piazzolla had spent his childhood in the United States, where jazz seeped into his bones. As a teenager, he returned to Buenos Aires. He joined the orchestra of Aníbal Troilo, crafted stunning arrangements, and by 1946, formed his own ensemble. But surrounded by musical giants, Piazzolla saw the limits of tradition. He wanted more, so he fused the soul of tango, the pulse of jazz, and the structure of classical music, creating something entirely new. Tango Nuevo, New Tango. It wasn't meant for dancing, it was meant for listening. Its rhythms were jagged, unexpected, A challenge to the dancers, a shock to the purists. When Tango Nuevo first echoed through Buenos Aires, it sparked outrage. Many said it wasn't tango at all, but outside Argentina, the world leaned in. North America, Europe, audiences embraced the fusion, and slowly, opinion at home began to shift. Stage dancers and musicians found freedom in Piazzolla's rhythms. As social dancing waned, new tango became the dominant voice. Yet Piazzolla was wrong about one thing. His music could be danced to, not in the old way, but in a way that matched its spirit. Bold, expressive, unbound. what's the future of Tango? How do we keep two people truly connected, physically, emotionally, in an age of internet, mobile phones, computers, and endless text messages? It's not Tango that's in danger. It's the connection between two human beings. If you wake up and look at your phone before you kiss your wife, you're laying another brick in the wall that separates man and woman. If you sit in a meeting, scrolling through Facebook, instead of speaking to the colleague right beside you, you're closing the window that connects you to real life. So try, just for a moment, to disconnect in order to reconnect.